So hello there fellow peeps of the internet and welcome to my first YouTube exclusive video. This video has nothing to do with TikToks. I haven't made any TikToks about the particular subject that I will be talking about in this video. For today's subject is about the UK witches. In this video there will be three main subjects: the history of witches, the trials and tribulations of witches, and are witches legal? Also, bear in mind that I am neither a witch, a wizard, a warlock, or any kind of magical entity. I wish I was, because then I could be like Harry Potter. Yeah. Let's start with the first subject, the history of witches. Now, in history, witches are usually perceived as evil beings, using spells to bewitch people, using magic to bring new forms of evil loose upon the world, or straight up summon or harness the power of devils or demons by supernatural and devastating deeds. With a face covered in boils, with a pointy hat, a black cat, and an enchanted broom that enabled the witch to fly from destination to destination to breed havoc wherever they go. And as a person who has been researching this for several days, that's a bunch of bollocks. But where did witches begin? When did they enter the history books? This is where it gets a bit complex and will raise more questions than answers, and for that I do apologise, but I did do the research and this is what I found out. The earliest record of a witch that I could find is in the Bible of Samuel. Now, who is Samuel? Samuel is a prophet linked to Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Believed to be written about 931 BC or 721 BC, it's not that accurate. It tells the tale of a king named Saul. Better call King Saul. You get it? Because of the TV show? Never mind. The story goes that the king summons a witch of Endor to bring back the dead prophet Samuel, because witches are evil, aka resurrection is evil. You see, the king wanted the prophet Samuel to help him defeat an army, but the newly resurrected Samuel did a bit of prophesizing. He said the king's son would die in this battle. Now, like any king in any sort of story, the king ignored his advice, and the son dies, and the king kills himself because he made such a mistake. But what happened to the Witch of Endor and the zombie prophet? I don't know. Don't know, don't care. Back to witches. But there is mention of another witch in another Bible, the Old Testament. Exodus 22:18, thou shalt not commit a witch to live. In plain English, you see a witch, you kill a witch. But the most promising sighting of a witch is in a painting called Homer's Odyssey, depicting an 800 BC scene, but painted in the 1500s, or 1550 to be precise, by an Italian painter by this name, because I look at that and my autistic and dyslexic brain just says Dave. In this very strange painting we see Circe, a Greek goddess, sorceress, and daughter of Helios, another Greek god. Sorceress is another term for a witch. The painting depicts Circe transforming men into animals, which is another trait of witches, transforming human beings into animals as a form of punishment. So we can't really put an accurate date as to when witches arrived or began, either in the history books or in England. But we do know when witches became popular here in England by ways of rumours, legends, publications spread by fanatics and the Christian church. But with this newfound popularity, this is where their problems truly began, or when the black cat shat on the fan. The trials and tribulations of UK witches. For you see, in 1486, two well-respected German Dominicans, pictured here, nice chaps, kinda, created a 308-page document, or book, promoting the execution and identification of witches using theories based in demonology. The book in question, pictured here, was called the in English, The Hammer of Witches. Now, to use modern phrasing and terminologies, this book went viral, selling more copies than any book of its era or time, apart from obviously the Bible. But when this book hit British bookstores in the 15th century, people took it literally, and between the years of 1500 and 1660, almost 80,000 suspected witches were put to death all over Western Europe. Out of those 80,000 suspected witches, England contributed only 500 to 1,000. There isn't an exact number due to improper records. All of this death and destruction happened because of some random ass book. It made people believe, because that people's minds back then were very easily swayed. You know, you use big enough words, they believe you're God. And they believe that these women, 80% of that 80,000 was women, believe to be the devil incarnate, filled with nothing more than lust and deceit and just pure evil. Then, as the book grew even more popular, it spread all over Europe and eventually reached the New World, the British and French colonies in America, where there was already a tense atmosphere due to a smallpox outbreak and attacks led by Native Americans. So with an epidemic, a book of fiction that people were taking as fact, and all the attacks from the Native Americans, this was a powder keg ready to go off. And finally, in 1692, in a small town called Salem, that tension, or that powder keg, ignited, and the Salem witch hunts began. Anyway, enough of what happened over there. Let's come back to England. Back here in England, the trials and tribulations of witches carried on for many, many years. The last one taking place in 1716. This segues nicely into the next and last subject. Are witches legal? Technically, yes. Or at least you can no longer proclaim a person to be a witch or a supernatural entity, or, you know, hunt that person and kill them. This is all thanks to a law passed here in England called the Witchcraft Act of 1735. This act states that it is a crime for any person to claim that another human being is a magical entity or is practicing witchcraft illegally. With this law, it abolished all hunting and execution of witches here in England, and the maximum penalty for this is 1 year. So what this essentially means, if you are a woman who looks particularly crone-like, with boils on your skin, a huge nose, who just so happens to have a black cat and likes to wear pointy hats and likes to walk around town with a broomstick, and someone was to point at you and go, "Oh, witch!" Technically, under the Witchcraft Act of 1735, that person can be thrown in jail for 1 whole year. To find out about modern witches and witchcraft here in the UK, I reached out to one of my friends who identifies as a kitchen witch. I don't know what that means. Maybe she makes a really good bat sandwich. Anyway, I asked her some simple questions, and these were her answers. How many kinds of witches are there? There are loads of different types of witches or pagans. It depends on what you put your energy into. For example, put your energy into the weather. You could be a hedge witch or a storm witch. Put your energy into physical items such as crystals or tarot cards. There are witches that follow set rituals and guidances. Or you can go it alone as a solitary witch. If you are a witch, are you part of a religion? Yes, witchcraft is a religion, known as Wicca. In a majority of places it is recognised and accepted, but in others you can still be imprisoned, stoned to death, or kicked out of your own village for practising witchcraft. But Wicca or witchcraft is also known by other names: pagans, shamans, druids, New Age witches, it goes on. Do witches meet up with one another? A gathering of witches is known as a coven, just a bunch of people that follow and practice the same thing as you. You could also describe a coven like a church, but nowadays being in a coven isn't cool. Wicca as a religion has evolved over time and has become more fluid, so a majority of witches you may meet practice by themselves. Do you still use spells in these modern times? Any person that follows Wicca or witchcraft, or even identifies as a witch, knows that casting spells is a small area of the religion. It's not all about casting spells, black cats, and flying on broomsticks. A person that casts spells all the time without knowing about the circles of the moon, the Sabbaths, the gods, the goddesses, are just misinformed, because doing this is like getting into a car crash in a car that has no frame. It can be really bad. She also said that she did blessings on the daily. So I said, if I sent her a lottery ticket, could she bless the lottery ticket to guarantee me a win? She sent me a very angry emoji and told me to piss off. So that was my video on witches of the UK. I hope I answered a majority of your questions, or it just made it entertaining for you to watch. I hope you enjoyed. Feel free to like, comment and subscribe. But anyway, my name has been AWR Stewart. You have been whoever the hell you are, and I shall see you in the next video. Bye.